So first things first, I thought I'd preface this video by explaining the purpose of why I've made this. The build, which I'm sure if you clicked on the link, will be why you're here, discussing that with some other people, and they've asked me, are you going to document it? Because not too many of these have been done. I know the swaps are getting pretty popular with all the KE series. So heck, give it a shot. I do not claim at any point in time to be a trained mechanic. I know bugger all. I just get by pretty much what I've learnt from my mates, from the internet itself. So you're not going to be getting that A-grade advice, don't get me wrong, but you'll probably learn with me, and sometimes that's just the best way to do it. So tear into me if I'm doing something wrong, doesn't really bother me. And I'll probably learn something from it, and you're probably right, to be honest with you. So yeah, I'll get into showing you what the project is and what the plans are. When we get to the bit that you probably clicked on the video for, I thought I'd just explain how I ended up with this car. Wanted to do an engine swap. That's the whole purpose of this build. Oh, spoiler alert, we're going to try and do an engine swap, and try is the most important word in that sentence. I wanted to do this engine swap, and I wanted to do the engine into the car more than I cared about the car. So I picked up the motor, done some work on that, we'll get to that later. And the car I was eyeballing, your generic stuff for around $5,000 Australian. If you can't tell, from South Australia, regional South Australia, country South Australia, my plan was to pick up a nugget. Ideally, I would have had a 10 out of 10 shell with a blown motor and gearbox, and save the money on that motor and gearbox because it was irrelevant, because it was going to get swapped out anyway. Spent what felt like months searching on your Facebook, your marketplace, Gumtree, trawling through KE70s, R31s, not really 240s because they're just out of control price at the moment. And then you start looking at your other stuff, but that was sort of the realm that I was looking at. I like the idea of having an old Japanese nugget with a modern, noisy engine in it. So I found this when I first saw it. It was listed for about 10 grand, 10 grand, which was just way too much for a shell. And shot him the lowball offer as you do, and rightfully he told me to piss off. Gave it a bit of time, and it was one of those things when you want to buy a car, if you check on it every day in marketplace and feel a little sick when you can't find it straight away, you think it's sold, is it not there? That's what I told myself. I thought, if that's the case, I've just got to buy this car. They're so unique. I've seen none of them in Australia, and that's for good reason. So let's cut the crap. I'll show you the car and let's have a chat about it. So like I said before, I know so little about mechanical stuff. Being a mechanic, I'm not a trained mechanic. I know even less about filming, video making, editing, stuff like that. So it's early January 2022, so let's see how long this actually takes me to edit and get online. All right, without further ado, however, this is the new project. This is a 1981 Toyota Corona. This is the hatchback or the fastback option, which to my knowledge weren't actually made or Australian delivered, sorry. So this one's been imported, not by the owner that I've made the purchase off eventually. As you can see on the number plate, it's an RT 132 is the model. Yeah, when I picked it up, it's pretty much as was. The only things I've done to it, I'll explain down the rear quarter. But this front indicator was broken, so a $50 part off eBay. I've got us back. And the only other bit of work that I've done with the assistance of my stepfather, who's a pretty handy panel beater / spray painter, but he won't say that, he's pretty modest, is just a bit of rust repair under the fender here. I was having a chat to another spray painter, and they said they were just notorious for that patch. They just would always rust there. So bad so that it was pretty embarrassing. I've actually got the bit that we cut out of it over on my counter. As you can see, this was sat straight onto the fuel tank there, and like it was just breaking up for fun. I'll give her a little bit more of a once round. It's on Enki Classics, I believe they are, genuines. Obviously lowered quite significantly, and that brings its own issues. It does look pretty stancy. As you can see, like it's not a bad look. People have asked me if I'm going to change rims. I actually don't mind them for the moment. But this is the grand reveal here. The red, what screams 1980s, like a red interior. Unfortunately, the dash is cracked to shit, but 5-speed box. It's got the 18RC motor. We'll go around and quickly throw that over. Look at it. Look at that, first time, every time, most of the time. So I'd be lying if I said I knew a lot about these motors. So if I say something wrong, I'm genuinely not 100% sure, but I believe it's an 18RC. The previous owners put Weber carby on it. It's got a set of extractors. I believe they're 1.8. Naturally aspirated 4-seal. The previous owner's actually done a little motor refresh. I didn't really pester him about what he'd done because it didn't really bother me. But I drove it up here from Adelaide, which is about 4 hours. The previous owner said the longest drive he'd done was about 2 minutes, about 2 hours. So it was a significant increase on that, but didn't skip a beat. Mechanically, it went really well. I'll take you for a quick spin. Look, first impressions, first drive. Doesn't have anywhere to fucking put your phone record. Alright, first impressions. First drive impressions, let's put it that way. It's slow. It's loud. And not the good kind of loud either. I'll do it out the window here just to get a benefit. It's bumpy. And that, for 450 k's north from where I purchased the car, was a nightmare. No aircon, 4x100. Yeah, that's really quite bad, that noise. But you know, we're working there. Excuse me. This camera's giving me grief. If you're stuck around this long, and a few people watch this, I will endeavour to get a real camera and do this properly. That's happening and it's annoying. I'll get back to you. Tell you what, this videoing stuff is a hell of a lot harder than I thought. It takes a stupid amount of time to get any sort of shots. Those last couple of rolling shots I had, went out to a abandoned building estate. So like, no reason for anyone to be out here. Came here, I thought I can get a couple of passing shots. You can see the car in action, see how it looks, see how it drives. Obviously a couple of bush rooters. They're killing me, it's the middle of the day. So I've got it back now. I didn't get too much more footage of us driving. Unfortunately, it's just so violently bumpy in here. The ride quality is just shocking. Without holding the camera the whole time, it just wasn't possible. But the worst thing driving this at the moment is the suspension. The suspension is clapped. I'm under the impression that it's got
chopped just chopped stock springs in the front, and maybe stock struts. I'm not sure. And in the rear, it's got chopped. No, in the rear, it's got Commodore springs, which apparently fit in here. And God knows, I stuck my head down. The struts don't actually look that old in the back, but we'll go ahead and we'll upgrade them regardless. There was one thing I forgot to mention about this car. Let's get us started. That's the gearbox. This is going into. Oh, okay, stand by. That have a choke. Oh, oh, God. That's trying to put it in reverse. So I think one of my mates, good mates, Dutchy, who I reckon you'll see later on in an episode, he said it's like hitting a pool fence with a cricket bat. That sounds awful. It goes in there, but it's not happy about it. Other than that, mechanically A1. So the plan is with this suspension, man, I just cannot believe how low that is, how low that sits. You could not put a shoe in there for the MCM shoe test. So from the research I've done, this should be a McPherson strut style setup and double wishbone front end, which is actually, I think these were the first of the Toyota sort of model to do that. So like I said before, it's way too low. It does look cool, but it's just, the plan for this car is to be able to take it to a track, put a new motor in it, a grip setup, and just be able to beat on it all day, drive it to and from the track. And at the moment, the suspension is just, it's designed for sitting there like that, looking at it, not for driving. So to do that, plan is to got some Kings and Munro struts and a new suspension setup. So we're going to be going for that. So that'll probably be the next thing. Luke is pretty camera shy. That'll be the next thing that we get done on the next episode. So cheers guys, stay tuned.